This episode of the Gooner Ramble podcast is sponsored by the new app called Bookie. That's BOOKEE. Sign up by using the promo code Ramble, deposit and bet £10 and get a free £10 bet. That's Bookie, BOOKEE.
Hello and welcome to another edition of the Gooner Ramble podcast. I'm your host Giles, and joining me tonight are the returning Was the Gooner. You can catch him at Was the Gooner on Twitter. How you doing, mate? You right?
Good evening, mate. I'm very, very good. Yourself?
Yeah, cock a hoop.
Good.
I have to say, cock a hoop.
Yeah, very happy, smiling. Yeah.
Indeed, and I think for the first time this season we've got James, aka at JECook96. Have I got that right, James? I have, haven't I? I know I've got that
yes,
right.
Mate, that's bang on.
Bang on the money. How you doing, mate? You good?
Yeah, really well, thanks. Thanks for having me on tonight. Really looking forward to talking about Arsenal's victory.
Indeed, and let's kick it off as we go on. Right, hot takes. 30 shots on goal. Dominated, complete domination, well, for most of the game. At last, we've managed to really spank a team away from home. The front three that I call them the Holy Trinity were absolutely fantastic for the first time this season. You want to call it the goal? I'd call it another. I'd give another analogy. The diamond shape with Ramsey joining those front three was brilliant. I mean, I could go on and on and on and on and on. Really good performance from the lads on Sunday. I want to start with you, James. Just really quickly, how did it make you feel watching the boys put Everton?
How did it make me feel watching the boys? It made me feel good, to be honest, and that's watching the boys and saying it made me feel good is not normally a phrase you'd hear me saying too often. But I thoroughly enjoyed that Arsenal performance the other day. It was a performance that I think has long been overdue. Wenger ball for the first time in a long time. Some of the football we played, so intricate, so delightful to watch. I had absolute joy at times, and it's something that we've missed. And you can kind of put aside our defensive frailties when we play that well going forward. I just hope that, given how well that trio played, I hope that they continue for the rest of the season in the names of Alexzil, Ozil and Lacazette, because they were so formidable going forward. And I think he brought out the best in players like Mesut Ozil, Aaron Ramsey. Our midfield at times were very dynamic, if not a little bit vulnerable, especially on the first goal. But all rounds, really positive performance from Arsenal, and I just hope that we stick with that formation. It kind of can't make you help but wonder, where were those players like Alexis, like Ramsey in the game against Watford? Yeah,
obviously Alexis and Ramsey, we were told were carrying little niggles, or some people were rumoured to say that they were feeling a little bit down from their World Cup exits. But one thing I have to say this season is, whilst we've not been dynamic as we were yesterday, we have been creating chances. I think there's a few bits and pieces of stats and data going around saying that we create at least 6 chances a game, which is about 4th best in the league up until before this weekend's games. We convert about 44% of our chances of the chances, or we create at least 44% of those chances, or something like that. So, even though we've not had Alexis and Ozil there, we've still been able to create some chances. We've really kind of missed the cutting edge. But it all came together yesterday, didn't it, on Sunday?
Yeah, mate. What? I just felt all warm and fuzzy inside, and I just felt a bit vindicated that I've been waiting so long to see that, and there's so many reasons why I wanted them players in the squad, and everything I envisaged happened. And for the first time in a long time, I was delighted with the team selection. And do you know what? When we went 1-0 down, I was not fussed. I was not fazed. I wasn't worried. And do you know what? I honestly, normally, and the way it's been the last few seasons, I thought, do you know what? We're going to struggle here. Everton is difficult. Like, this is Arsenal back into. But I tell you something, I just did not feel fazed. The way we started that game in the first sort of 6-7 minutes, we were unbelievable. It's football I haven't seen in a long time. The way we were manipulating the ball, the speed of the pass, the ball, everything about it was just so Arsenal, and that is the kind of football that for years and years we've seen Arsene Wenger provide us. And do you know what? Even through the years without successes, we weren't winning trophies, but bloody hell, we were good to watch. And recently, it's been the complete opposite. And I haven't seen Arsenal play football like that for years, really. And going 1-0 down from sort of an unfortunate situation, it didn't faze me. And like I said, for the first time in a long time, I wasn't worried, and I was extremely confident that we had more than enough to get us over the line. And we, in the end, we done it in great style. But yeah, it was just, that was football. That was so good. And I can't, you can probably hear me smiling now talking about it. It's just, it feels so nice to be able to look at the Arsenal and say, yeah, I'm proud of that performance. I'm proud of the way we played. I'm proud of the players, and so many players that get polarised so much, but they're so talented. And when you see it all come together like that, you understand why everyone's got different opinions, and you can see the roles, and you can see people flourish. And it's good, isn't it, mate? It's nice to talk happy for once.
Indeed. I think we even agreed before the game. We were very much on the same page before the game about the Arrowhead formation and how it was imperative that we put our, we use our fullbacks up high and pin them back, and used our fast transition football that we knew we could play with the front three. I mean, and it worked as a treat, didn't it? I mean, just if you can, just quickly, what key points or aspects of that formation really worked well that we haven't seen so far this season?
Is that me?
Me? Yeah, I'll start with you.
Yes, mate. Yeah. But I want to make the point, like you said, about the fullbacks. I think they are so vitally important. And for me, this formation is so key to have them fullbacks. And what I noticed is, obviously in previous seasons where we've had the four, Arsenal still had a huge reliance on these fullbacks to provide the width, to give us the actual creative freedom and try and get space. But when we lose the ball quick in transition there, we're really stuck, because we only had two centre backs. There's a huge reliance on your two CMs. We're out of shape. We're cool. And in a defensive sense, having these three centre backs allows the freedom of these fullbacks to advance. But also what it does do is it takes another attacking player out of the mixer and just gives a bit more space for people like Ozil to pick up possession, people like Ramsey to run from deep, people like Lacazette to drop in. And I mean, I tell you, it benefits the most. And I mean, you hear this word in nightclubs all over the UK, no spray, no lay. You hear it all the time. And I tell you something, Granit Xhaka, he sits in there and he sprays 15 long passes he attempted, mate. 15, and 12 of them are accurate. And the difference it makes, no spray, no lay. I honestly think that. And it sounds funny.
I haven't been clubbing for a long time, mate.
You still know that saying, though, I'll tell you. No, but what I'm saying is, when you got Kolasinac, he's high, he's retaining the width. We've got the ball on the right hand side. You look up and you can see someone hugging that left touch line. And what it does do is it creates the space. And then also it gives us the opportunity to move the ball across the pitch. I mean, you saw it straight away. I don't know if you remember it. It's another good use of it. Mesut Ozil, after about 5 minutes, he dropped deep on the right hand side. Brilliant touch and control. Turned inside, and Bellerin had advanced internally of him. Flicked the ball inside, across to Ramsey, all the way out, and we created a chance straight away from it, because we were moving the ball so fast across the pitch. And with Xhaka sat in there, that's when he's at his best, pinging them long balls to the fullbacks, the retention of width, the space creation. I loved it. What we didn't see at Liverpool and what we didn't see at Stoke was that option. We had Hector Bellerin on the left, so he's naturally inverted. He's not retaining the width. We weren't hugging the touchline. We had Ox on the right. He wanted to come in. He wants to be on the ball. He's never going to retain that width. He didn't do it on the wing, and he won't do it as a fullback. So these two guys we've got at the moment, they're so vital to the way we play this game, and it really will help Granit Xhaka. It helps Aaron Ramsey. With the three centre-backs, we're more protected. It gives the freedom. And I just thought it was beautiful to watch. And some of the football is just mesmeric. But as Cookie said, where's it been, mate? Where has it been? And finally, we've seen a taste of it. I'm hungry. I don't know about you guys. I'm very, very hungry for more.
I've got an appetite for sure. I've definitely got an appetite. Cookie, Lacazette seemed, I want to say emancipated. I'm hoping that's the right word. Away from home yesterday, on Sunday. What we've seen, or what I've seen, and what a lot of people have seen is he really works hard. He makes runs, and he's not always seen or he's not always found. It can be a forlorn task, continually showing yourself. But with Alexzil and Ozil there, it liberated him. It liberated us. I saw even guys like Kolasinac trying, risque passes, knowing that he's going to try and get on the end of it. What I'm trying to say is, yesterday there was no inhibition from our players that we've pretty much unlike what we've seen going away from home this season. How key? I mean, you said last week we would have loved to have seen Lacazette, and we would have loved to have seen Ramsey, Alexzil, and Ozil. How significant do you think them being fresh for this game was to our play yesterday?
I think it was fresh, but as well, you've got to remember these are professional footballers, and maybe it's me being incredibly naive, but they are on hundreds of thousands of pounds. I would have expected them to at least be available for that game against Watford. And I do think it is Arsene Wenger in a way protecting his players and having far too much faith in the likes of Elneny, Iwobi. If we were serious about that game away from home at Watford, we'd have put Alexzil and Ramsey out there off the back of those World Cup qualifiers. I don't care if they're lacklustre following their defeats for their respective countries. They should have come into this game as professionals, prepared for the game at Watford, and playing for 60 minutes, or even get the game won by half time. Then you can bring on the likes of Iwobi and Elneny. But unfortunately, that wasn't the case. But seeing them three in the game at Everton the other day, was absolutely brilliant to watch. And the way they all linked up, Lacazette he's a breath of fresh air, really. We've lacked that desire, that work rate, that hunger leading the line for us. And he's an inspiration to the rest of the team, I think. The way other players feed off him, the way players know where his runs are going to be. And as was said earlier, the amount of forward balls that someone like Granit Xhaka makes going forwards, it just only benefits Lacazette's game. And I hope that we're able to pinpoint more of these runs. And I think someone like Jack Wilshere especially, and Santi Cazorla, when he returns to the team, is going to love working with someone like Lacazette, even if it's just for a couple of months. He makes so many good forward runs. He links up so well. And it begs the question as to why, I hate returning to previous games, but why didn't this guy start against Liverpool away from home? That was the perfect team the other day, and it's the team that we've been dying to see all season. That's a front three that has taken 8 games to come to fruition, and in that time we've lost 3 of those games. Now, granted, there have been times when they haven't been able to play together, but to wait that long to play them as a trio, and for them to then play that well, and for us to have already dropped points when we could have, gone to Liverpool, and let's say Lacazette had that chance Danny Welbeck had in the opening 10 minutes of the game, we could be talking about a different result. We could be talking about a different position in the league. But that's all hindsight now. But with those players, with them coming into the team yesterday, I mean, Arsene Wenger, it's a no-brainer that those 3 have got to play together for the rest of the season. Relating back to your question, the freshness that they brought into the team was just exhilarating. And it brought out the best in the rest of the squad. And I don't think it's any coincidence now that we're seeing Aaron Ramsey come back into some brilliant form. Bellerin's coming into great form. The defence is looking, I still think a bit shady, but I think this team is definitely starting to build a little bit more, but we've got to start picking the right team lineup, and that is in the hands of Arsene Wenger.
Yeah, I'll just jump in on Lacazette here. Cookie made some great points there about him, mate. But for me, I'm seeing levels to his game that I didn't know existed. I genuinely did not know he had these. I mean, for instance, I can name now, I've been thinking about it, in the first 15 minutes of the game, I can name 3 instances. First one, hold-up play, held the ball up brilliantly for when Sanchez got bowled over, where it could have possibly been a penalty. When you watch it back, he's linked, he's hold up, he retained possession, he waited for the run, lovely little touch in, and then it was unlucky. The next one, his intelligence of position, that chance he had, the fox in the box, holding his position in the box, he got there, he turned, keeper made the save. I personally felt he should have scored, but it's just intelligence and awareness. He saw Ramsey's run, he knew exactly what was happening, he got in the right area, it was unlucky. And then the third one, he was on the shoulder of the last man, Ashley Williams. Xhaka pings a ball in to Ozil. First time pass. You don't even have to look, Mesut. He's played that ball. He's travelled sort of 60 yards with 3 passes on the ground, and he's through down the outside, and Ashley Williams does well to get the block and hits the side netting. And that's, as a centre forward, he's done 3 completely different things there, and he's done them all very, very well. And I think it's only a matter of time before, if we continue to see these, like Cookie said, these 3, I mean, Lacazette, the sky's the limit for him with how many goals he can score, because he really, really has surprised me with the levels to his game, and I'm very impressed.
There's there's a different kind of intelligence with those three, with that front three. And they look like they've been playing together for ages. That's the thing. It's the first time.
Ramsey.
And Ramsey, the four.
Yeah.
They look like they've been playing together for ages. To think that was the first game they've actually been on the same pitch together in a competitive match, they'd actually look like they've been playing together for ages. It was uncanny. Some of the passing movements were off the charts, and I have to say, Jordan, if it weren't for Jordan Pickford, who knows, we would have been probably out of sight in those first 10, 15 minutes. Let's dial it back. And I do really want to discuss the first goal, because the goals that we conceded weren't structural. It wasn't nothing to do with shape or formation. They were individual errors. And as I understand it, that's our fourth individual error of the season. James, what went wrong in that instance for you? And how does it rectify?
I know that statistically it's going to go down as an individual error, but I think it's a little bit more than that. Where Mertesacker's played Xhaka into that, I don't want to say dangerous situation, because I definitely think Xhaka could have held onto the ball possibly a bit better. I think he was a bit unfortunate with the foul, but again, you look at a player like someone like Cazorla, Wilshere, someone that's got a little bit of a lower centre of gravity and quicker on the turn. We know that's not Xhaka's strength, so why we put him in those pressurised situations, I don't know. Hopefully it's something he'll be able to become accustomed to, and we'll see him be a little bit better in those tight areas. But Elneny did it in the game against Leicester on the opening day of the season. Mertesacker's done it today. It's unfortunate for the guy, and it's hard to. I do think it's a foul, but you got to say, cracking finish by Wayne Rooney. Can't really argue with that. But again, it's poor from us. And as much as I loved Arsenal in that game the other day, even for the second goal that they scored, which I'm sure we'll get onto later, we still do the simple things wrong. And against a team like Man City or Man United or Tottenham or whoever we play, if we give away that kind of goal just from a lackluster error, that's going to cost us, because we'll struggle to get back into the game. I think, I say that with that front three, I feel like we can score against anybody, but it's those tougher defences that we've got to break down. And if we give away poor goals like that, then it's just going to make life a lot more difficult for us. You look at City, they've only conceded 4 goals this season. We've conceded triple that, which is a bit mad. But we've definitely got to tighten up at the back and just play route one football at times. I know that doesn't sound particularly appealing, but hoofing the ball away from our own net, if it evades danger, there's nothing wrong with that if it sacrifices 30 seconds of playing nice football out from the back. But that's always been our problem, and under Arsene Wenger, I don't see that changing too soon.
Over to you.
Yeah, Granite. I mean, I actually thought he had a fantastic game. I really did, and the individual error there, he was too slow on the ball, and he does have these brain farts. He does have these moments where it's like someone's controller disconnects when they're playing a PlayStation, and he just something happens to him, and then all of a sudden he's like, "Oh, I'm back!" And like James said, the pass from Mertesacker was probably unnecessary to put him in that position, but he should have dealt with the ball better. I personally, again, I agree with James. I do think it was a foul. I did think Jay, he put in a decent challenge, but he was wrong side, and at the end of the day, he clipped Xhaka first. And I personally think if that was at the other end, it might well have been given. But yeah, I mean, conceding goals for me, like we said, the 2 goals we did concede, they're not really, like you said, we can't pin them down to a system or anything like that. It just genuinely was 2 individual moments that you'd rather forget. And that is for me, that's very encouraging. And when you look really since the Liverpool game, I mean, it's getting the balance right between having the excitement and being solid. And I think since then, I mean, we kept 4 clean sheets out of 5 going into the Watford game and conceding them 2 goals. And let's be honest, it was an understrength team, and we really weren't at the races that day. And realistically, against Everton, we were very unlucky not to keep another clean sheet. And that was the most exciting I've seen us in a long time. So it's about getting the balance right. And I personally, and we said this last time when we discussed it, I'd rather see champagne football and concede 2 goals and score 5, but each to their own. But if we can get the balance right, it could go on longer and longer. But I feel a bit sorry for Xhaka, and because of recently his poor form, he's been a bit vilified in there, and rightly so. Some of it hasn't been good enough, but I must admit, that aside, I thought he was fantastic. Like I mentioned earlier, 15 long balls he attempted, 12 of them completed. He's always an option. He's very progressive. He plays quick balls through the lines. He sees the runs, and he's got a thunder bastard of his left foot. And at the end of the day, that's what helped us with the first goal. And he was very, very, very unlucky not to score late on. But I felt his role was a lot deeper. I think he spent the majority of the game where I like him, just sat in there with the whole game in front of him. And I thought it was a very good performance from Xhaka. And I thought, as a side, he benefited, like everyone else, from having that front three, and then sometimes four, causing absolute havoc. And for him, when he sees a pass, he plays it, and there was plenty of people moving and showing for him. So I enjoyed Xhaka's performance, and I wouldn't beat him up too much, but he does have to speed up sometimes. We all got to admit that.
I'm sorry, I'm going to have to be the harbinger of doom for this podcast, because I was quite peeved by that passage of play. First of all, if you see the camera angle from behind Per, where he's looking out on the field of play, he can see there's 3 players around Xhaka. He's got an option now. He can play it back to Shek. You can play it long, or play it right, or whatever. We can play it left or get it out, as James said. He's chosen, okay, he's been pressured by, maybe it might have been Calvert-Lewin, I can't remember. He's chosen his decision is to play the ball to a man that's been bared down, he's being overlooked by 3 players. Everton set the trap. You've seen it constantly throughout the game. Finally, Gay got sent off, but their ploy was, once Xhaka's got his back turned to the game and he's getting the ball, close him down. This is not the first time this has happened. Last season, he was being caught time and again. His spatial awareness isn't great. He doesn't have rear view mirrors. He's not sure. He's not aware of what's going on behind him. And it's in those situations where people say, well, someone like Santi Cazorla has wing mirrors. He's aware of everything that's going on around him in that space of the field. And these are the sort of things that Xhaka he absolutely has to eradicate from his game if he's going to be a top level deep lying, and I say deep lying playmaker. I don't think he's a defensive midfielder. I don't think he has the attributes to be a defensive midfielder. You know, we signed the guy that we all believed was a defensive midfielder, and I had to go back and look at some of those Mönchengladbach games, and he was getting sent off because he was left to anchor in midfield. He's not mobile enough to anchor in midfield and play the defensive midfielder role. He doesn't have not only is he not mobile enough, he doesn't have the brains, the awareness, the nous, the positional sense isn't there. It really isn't there. I know you say he's a spray and lay guy, and I agree with that. But that is because he's a deep lying playmaker rather than a defensive midfielder. There's nothing about him that strikes me as that is similar to someone like Gilberto Silva or a Makaleli, or, you know, you can even look at lesser players of that, who, a Matic even. There's nothing about his game that I've seen that makes me think, yeah, he's a defensive midfielder, but we're deploying him in that role. If we're to deploy him in that role, we need to really coach him up in terms of understanding that role, because these things have been happening for over a year now. You know, like I said before, Per Mertesacker, I think, was at fault as well. He was first at fault. He should never have laid that pass on. He sees the field. He knows he should have done, for me, he should have played it back to Shek if the pass was on. But there we are.
Do you think he should have closed the shot, Drew? Do you think he could have closed the shot a bit quicker?
He could have. Mertesacker.
Yeah, I felt he just sort of stood and sort of. I know he tried to block. I mean, to be fair, Rudy put in the only angle he could have hit it, but I personally felt he could have maybe advanced and tried to. I mean, maybe it's a bit harsh, but I just thought maybe he could have advanced, because I thought once Rooney had it under control, there was quite a few seconds before he actually pulled the trigger.
Exactly that. I mean, people were very quick to blame Xhaka, but I thought that, you know, the first fault and maybe the main fault for me was Mertesacker, because he could see the field of play. He has the play in front of him, and the decision making.
Analysis, man.
Very fair. Okay, first goal. James, take me through it. Our first goal, equaliser.
Oh, our first goal. Well, the man that actually came under so much scrutiny for us conceding the opening goal actually played a big part in our return with that great effort on goal, which took a deflection. Pickford plays it back into the the one, the only, the Spanish prince that is Nacho Monreal with a thunderous effort. Once again, popping up when we most need him, just like he did in that semi-final against Man City. Beautiful finish. Let's not forget, this is a guy that is a defender, 31 years of age, will be 32 this season, and that is the finish of a prime Thierry Henry. Absolutely brilliant goal past Jordan Pickford. And just touching on Nacho Monreal, I know that he's a player that I think is becoming more and more valued at Arsenal Football Club as each year goes by. And like a fine wine, I think he's getting better with age. He's going to be one of those players. But I think one attribute of his that is going under the radar slightly is his leadership ability. I think he's a great leader in this team. If you notice when there's a foul that goes against us or for us, he's always the first to the referee.
He's one of the greatest naggers in the world, isn't he? He's a real nagger of the referees, isn't he, when it comes to that?
Yeah, looks like a nagger.
He's got the face for it, you've got to say. But the way he picks this team up, I think he's similar to what I was saying about Lacazette. He drives his team forward. He's one of those players that you look to that will always give his all. And when we have those horrendous defeats, and like the one against Watford, where we're all doom and gloom and saying, "Oh, no one in this team cares," he's the one player that you kind of look at and think, "Yeah, I mean, I do honestly think this guy cares about Arsenal Football Club. He always gives his all in every single game." And I think this left centre-back role is so perfect for him, and I'd argue that he's maybe even surpassing someone like Azpilicueta. I know it's a pretty big statement, but the awareness that he's got, his passing ability, saying that, I mean, we'll look at that final goal that we conceded to make it 4-2 in the end, but I think he's such a good player that offers so much, and I think it's a bit of a shame that someone like Theo Walcott has got the vice-captain's armband in ahead of him. I think he should definitely be higher up in the pecking order for that, because he's definitely one of those senior players in the team that's got a lot to offer, and his part in the goal, putting it in the back of the net, the right man to score it, I think. And it's interesting, he was highlighted on Match of the Day 2 last night that him and Ozil were in the exact same spot pretty much for the rebound, and Monreal was the first one onto it rather than Ozil. And I'm not criticising Ozil whatsoever in that instance, but it just shows that he's got a real knack for being in that position at the right time. And it's a brave moment as well from him to come all the way up to sacrifice his position, to get on the rebounds, and to put it away with such conviction. So hats off to Nacho Monreal. He's a brilliant asset to Arsenal Football Club.
Before we go into the second goal, James was, I can't argue with anything James said there. Last season, people were saying he's a bit off the pace. He's struggling. He needs to be usurped. We need to find a replacement, but he keeps on coming. But he's got that, what Alan Pardew would say, bounce back ability, hasn't he? I mean, he is really Mr. Consistent. I mean, this three-man defense has really liberated. He's shown his value to this team, hasn't he?
He certainly has, and for years when you genuinely look back at him, I think it was back in like 2016, 2015, he was deployed at centre back, and it's around the time he was playing Debuchy there as well.
Yeah.
Oh mate, it was before that. It was 24. First time I think I saw it, that horrible defeat 2-1 Man United at home. That was absolutely horrendous. Him and Per Mertesacker as the centre back partnership.
But the thing is, I remember looking back and I was thinking to myself, do you know what? He's a very consistent player, and he's just not. He didn't really back then have that sort of likability, and I don't think people understood how he was progressing in the game. And now when you look at him, he's just Mr. Reliable. You've all hit the nail on it. He's Mr. Consistent, Mr. Reliable. He's very likeable. You enjoy the way he plays football. I like, even though he's playing centre-back, we did keep seeing him popping up in random positions, much like when Kolasinac was playing centre-back and he set up Welbeck in that. It's almost as if, I saw it a few times where Monreal sort of overlapped Kolasinac, who then tucked in. It's like, it's such a sort of fluid and enjoyable system to watch when it works. And to make it work, you have to have the right personnel, and it works both ways, because not just Nacho, a lot of players are really benefiting from having protection, having a system, and actually knowing what is going on, which is something we haven't seen for a while with Arsenal. But big fan of Nacho, and long may his performances continue, because he's versatile, he's intelligent, and like Cookie described, he's a fine wine. So fingers crossed he can stay fit, and we're going to see him for a few more years at the Arsenal.
Take us through the second goal.
Yes, mate, this is stuff of dreams. Absolutely beautiful. I'll tell you what, the whole thing, where it started on the halfway line, Ramsey into Lacazette. Lacazette again, he's dropped right off, he's right involved in the game. When you look at it, Mesut Ozil was occupying on the last man. He's on the far corner of the pitch, across the other side. Now, as the play progresses, Lacazette goes out to Alexzil. Then Ramsey makes a darting run. And when you watch it, Ozil crosses Ramsey. So Ramsey's confusion going to the back post. Ozil sneaks across. The ball from Alexzil is sensational. The header is absolutely brilliant. But there was so much more to that goal than what we saw on the ball. And it's brilliant to see when you actually appreciate the movement, the importance of the movement from deep from Ramsey, the importance of the movement from Ozil crossing in, the intelligence. I mean, don't normally...
Alexis staying wide, holding the width.
Exactly. Held the retention of width. Then all of a sudden Everton are they're not sure where the runners are coming from. There's people running blindside. There's people running from deep. It's difficult to defend. And when you play a ball like that, it don't matter if there's no movement or there's movement at all. It's going to be tough to deal with. And Mesut really, really took the header with aplomb and perfect celebrated, run along, love the celebration on the knees, little the old Mesut sign in front of the away end.
I thought it was M for Martin Keown, personally.
It's true, it's good. But it's just nice for him to answer critics like that. And at the end of the day, he had an absolute stormer of the game, and that goal was just part of it. But what a brilliant move. And that's football. That's what I love to see. I mean, it's not very often we see Arsenal score a cracking headed goal, especially from Mesut Ozil. I mean, but yeah, the whole off the ball movement, the intelligence of Lacazette, where he's like vacated the space is so weird. We talked about before, like that false nine, and then the importance of that deep run from Ramsey, because if that doesn't happen, the confusion isn't there. They cross over, the centre backs have mind boggled, and Alexis just puts it on the money, and I loved it. It's football, mate. I love that. I can watch that all day long.
Well, the only other time, the only other header I remember him doing in a competitive game was Watford last season, and the man that laid it on was on the left.
Alexis.
Exactly. Those two. Yeah. I mean, it was almost a carbon copy of the Watford goal, wasn't it, last season?
Went far off, mate. It was very, very similar.
Indeed. Okay, take us through the Lacazette goal then.
Oh. You sure Cookie don't want to go? I'm a bit too excited
Cookie,
about it.
Sorry, mate. Cookie, you go ahead. Sorry, mate.
No, don't worry about it at all. I mean, it's good to see Lacazette score again. What is that? 5 goals in 9 league games. And to think that he's kind of come to Arsenal with a lot of people. I think we were all really excited by his signing, but there were still people that were a little bit sceptical about what he could offer to Arsenal Football Club.
Yeah, go on.
But to score 5 goals, no, it's not a dig at you at all, mate. I think there are a lot of people that were kind of in the camp that Olivier Giroud scored a load of goals for Montpellier, came to Arsenal, didn't really do it at the start of his Arsenal career. But Lacazette has hit the ground running. If you look at Lukaku, the amount of goals he scored, and Morata, and Lacazette is not far behind at all. He's like 1 or 2 goals behind those two. So he's had a brilliant start. His first goal away from home, hit with such conviction. That's what I love about this guy. That goal he scored not too long ago as well, I think, against, was it Brighton? Absolutely brilliant finish there as well. He's got everything. He's got that work rate, he's got that desire, he's got that hunger, and he's got that clinical finish that I think we've missed, for so long now. And I think he's an adaptable player that can work with a lot of other options that we've got in this side. Him working with, Welbeck as well. I think they were building up quite a good relationship before Welbeck got injured, but that trio at the minute, I can't stop banging on about it. I mean, they're so good to watch together, and the midfield importance to them as well, with Ramsey, as Woz says, making those runs. It's a different dimension to our game, and I'm sincerely hoping that it's persisted with, because for the first time in a long time, I'm very excited by Arsenal's strike force, and to have options as well in reserve like Olivier Giroud. Let's not forget about Theo Walcott as well, who contributed 19 goals last season, is still firing this season, even though it's in the League Cup and the Europa League. He's still got a part to play in Arsenal's season. And then to bring on someone like Jack Wilshere in the game as well. We've got options. We've got plenty of options in this team. Granted, on paper, we might not have the best starting 11 the league has ever seen, but we've got options in pretty much every single position now. And Lacazette is proving to be one of the first names on the team sheet. The one thing I would say about his game that is a little bit of a concern for me is his stamina does seem to die out around the 60th, 70th minute mark. And I don't think it's any coincidence that we're seeing more and more Arsene Wenger take him off in the dying stages of the game, or the last third really of the game. He does seem to his fitness, I think, still needs a bit more work before we see him complete a full 90 minutes. But I'd have liked to have seen him kept on at Everton. I think it was a bit of a ludicrous substitution, to be honest, bringing on Jack Wilshere for Lacazette. I'd have maybe taken off someone like Alexis for Jack Wilshere and let Lacazette maybe score a few more goals, because there were goals to be had. If all he had to do was pretty much goal hang, stay on just about on side for the rest of the game, and could have ended up with a hat trick. You never know. But as I say, brilliant outlet for Arsenal, and I think he'll quite comfortably get possibly 25 to 30 goals for Arsenal this season.
I have to say, James, I'm not sure I agree with the opinion that he lacks stamina. I think it's Wenger trying to. I've noticed that with some new players, Wenger tries to take them out around the 60 to 70th minute. Last week against Watford, I don't think his game was done. I don't think he'd been gassed. I don't think he was gassed again on Sunday. I think it's one of Wenger's isms, the whole, making a substitute around the 68th minute, bringing off a new player around the 68th minute, not giving them, easing them into Premier League life. I do think there was a lot. I do think he has more in the gas. I think he has more gas in his tank. But for some reason, Wenger doesn't play him 90 minutes. I think he did it with Robert Pires quite a lot when he first came as well. But anyway, what did you want to say about Laka?
Yeah, I just want to. I've getting my breath from describing the first goal, but that last goal, but the football again, I just have to talk about it because it was just so good. The way right from the back, when you see Hector Bellerin, he's tucked in alongside the centre backs, and he knows as soon as Everton get that ball. Don't get me wrong, it's a shocking pass, but he's there to intercept. As soon as he intercepts, I've watched the cracking angle of the goal earlier, and as soon as he intercepts, you see it, and there's two centre-backs, and they're occupied by both Alexzil and Lacazette. They're right up there on the last man. Now, as soon as Bellerin gets the ball, Alexzil drops in, Lacazette stays high, and Mesut Ozil is on his bike. Yep. He is gone. He sees the space on that right wing. He is gone. And as a result, because Alexzil drops in, their left back tucks in to try and deal with him. Ozil's gone into space. The ball into Alexis's feet is brilliant. Alexzil already knows what's happening. He's sucked that left back off. He's coming, and on he goes. What a ball round the corner. Then from there, we've opened the whole game up, and at the angle I saw it was absolutely brilliant, to be fair, because it's sort of on the other side of the pitch, and you see Aaron Ramsey right up close, and he's obviously made that run from deep again, and he's pointing. You can see him pointing to Lacazette. Stay there, stay there, stay there. And Lacazette obviously knows what he's doing anyway, but Ramsey's run so deep, Lacazette just stands still, perfectly weighted pass into him, and the goal again. The movement off the ball, the speed, the thought of pass, everything about it was just so good to watch. And I could watch football like that all day, and I could talk about it all day, because that's what I grew up enjoying, and that's what I love to see. And what a goal again. What a goal. And I'm happy for Laka, and he's doing his old Tolisso celebration. Them two are having a bit of love in there, so good on him, and I'm glad he got his goal, because he worked really hard and he was unlucky with a few chances, and he really did deserve his goal in the end.
No coincidence that his first away goal comes when he's playing with Ozil, isn't it? First away goal for the club, and it had to be Ozil that laid on the assist for him. You're absolutely right. The running lines, the movement, the intelligence, the understanding of where every man is and what every man's doing.
That's it. Understanding, mate. That's the thing. Like you said earlier, it's like telepathy. It's almost like these four, they just know. They know. They don't think about it. It's instinctive. Alexis knows that Ozil's going to run into that space because he's a world-class footballer. Ozil knows that Alexis is going to play that ball first time because he's a world-class footballer. And then they know, like Ramsey knows, if he runs there, he's going to create the space. Lacazette knows that the space has been created, so he's going to drop in it. It's just, they don't think about it. This is clockwork. This is beautiful to watch, and we need to see more.
Exactly. It looks so simple, but it's so highly technical, and the thing is, the beauty of it is they make it look so simple. I mean, it was almost one touch. I think it was Ozil. I think it was only Ozil that had two touches, one to get it out of his feet and the other one to lay on the assist. It was beautiful movement. Goal 4 was Aaron Ramsey. I think he deserved it as you said, he was brilliant, wasn't he? All game, Some people say that his touch, and I do understand, his touch can be a bit better. He's a bit inconsistent. I mean, when he gets into goal scoring positions, you now think hit the target. You don't think will he sky it? You expect him to hit the target, to work it, And I think he's at that level now where we're expecting him to get double figures for goals. Take us through the goals, both of you. James, what did you think of the goal?
I think it was just one of those. It was a really nice build up to it, to be honest. Nice to see Jackie Wilshere involved in it, and also Francis Coquelin, who, when he comes onto the field of play, you kind of can't help but think, oh, Arsenal's shutting up shop here. We're not going to see too much fluidity going forward. But it was a clever ball into Jack Wilshere, if not a simple one. And Jack Wilshere with the turn playing it into Aaron Ramsey. And Ramsey took it with a really kind of subtle finish past Jordan Pickford. Took it really, really well. Didn't fluff his lines at all. And I feel like he was always going to get a goal in this game. But for him to get it when Everton were tiring, took it at just the right time to really properly kill off the game. Again, yeah, as I say, it was as nice as every single other goal that we scored. Really pleased for Ramsey. And I think it's going to be, I know it's going to be a big season for Aaron Ramsey. He's got a perfect midfield partner in Granit Xhaka. And just relating back to your point that you made quite a long time ago, actually, about Xhaka and how he should be utilised really in this team. We've been playing that sort of defensive midfield role. I'm totally in your camp that he's not a defensive midfielder, and I don't think we're going to see the best of him if we do kind of train him to be that type of player. I think he's going to be that best. We'll see the best of him playing as a more deep lying playmaker. And I know that we've put so much into this back three formation, and yesterday just shows that we're reaping the rewards of it. And I do think we've got so much to build on it still. But I would honestly love to see us revert to a back four, just play a simple 4-3-3 with a midfield trio of Jack Wilshere, Aaron Ramsey, and Xhaka. I think you'd really see him play well if he was utilised alongside those kind of players. Just kind of Xhaka playing as the deep one, Jack Wilshere just in between them, and then Aaron Ramsey playing a little bit more progressively. And then maybe someone like Mesut Ozil playing on the wing, cutting inside into a more inverted winger, number 10 sort of role. It's a possibility. It's probably my own sort of deluded fantasy, but I think that's where we're going to see the best of him, and I don't think we're ever going to see him develop properly as a defensive mid. The type of tackles he makes are rash. I don't think he's suited to that role at all, but playing his three at the back does mean that we are going to lose a bit of grit in midfield, and I don't think that's a problem so long as we've got the right players in the back line. And when Mustafi comes in, and when hopefully Callum James and Rob Holding develop that bit more, we'll see a little bit more sturdiness at the back. So I don't think we've got too much to worry about. But Jack and Ramsey, I think they complement each other so well, and I think this is definitely something to build on. And Ramsey scoring another goal this season, he's getting amongst it, and I'm totally in agreement with you that he should and probably will get into double figures this season, barring a horrendous injury.
Go on, blow by blow account, please.
No, yeah, I think you've had enough blows today. Cookie described it absolutely perfectly, to be fair. Francis Coquelin, hats off to him. Like you said, a lovely progressive pass in there. Often it's easily turned down sometimes, but great ball. Jack knows exactly where he is, and he knows exactly what he's doing, and we all know how good Jack Wilshere is, and lovely ball on the money, and he just sits the keeper down and sends him the wrong way, and it was nice. So he missed a chance earlier on, and he was unlucky very early on in the game. Great save from Pickford. Maybe he could have scored, but these goals, anything from a central midfielder for me is a bonus. And if your central midfielder can offer double figures, that's incredible. Really, it really is a high contribution of numbers. And we're in a stage when you've got a front three like that, you're not really in a reliance on your CM to get these goals. But what Ramsey does do is get in so many positions, and 9 times out of 10, it's not about him touching the ball. It's about what he is doing off of the ball, which creates the space. But yeah, it's a lovely goal. And then the fifth again. I mean, I don't know if you want us to roll straight into it.
Just roll straight into it.
You spoke earlier, mate, about our man Collar trying them risque passes, and he clipped an absolutely fantastic ball over the top. Ramsey again, that run, that untraceable run. He's completely unmarked, and you don't know how he is, but he is, because he times it well. He's in behind. The touch is just sensational. It's just beautiful. Kills it dead with a lovely little flick, and then Alexzil leads everyone on a merry little dance, and you're thinking, shoot! And everyone's like, shoot! And he keeps going, but he knows what he's doing, and he pings it at the perfect moment. What a finish across the keeper. Unstoppable. It was just a lovely goal again, and like we've said, all the goals were beautiful to watch, but yeah, I love that goal again, and it comes from movement off the ball and intelligence, and that one had a bit more of an individual twist to it as well, because Alexis chose the exact perfect moment to release the bullet, and he kept the defenders guessing, and Pickford absolutely no chance. So happy for Alexis to get a goal as well, and a lot of the time he does frustrate, and he did frustrate again, but he looks a bit more himself and a bit more team orientated, I felt, but maybe that's because the players around him are all playing quick, fast, move football, and he doesn't feel the burden on his shoulders as much that he has to sort of take on the killer one every time, if you know what I mean. And I thought he moved the ball a lot better, and I was pleased with it. It was great.
I want to ask you guys about Alexzil. And just last week, just before this game, actually, somebody, I don't know if it was a mole or whatever, I don't know, put out the rumour that Ozil wants to join Man United, whether it's in January or summer, I don't know. And obviously it was done to sort of like destabilise the club even more, to derail the club even more. Earlier on, obviously, we had the whole saga with Alexis and Man City and whatnot. And I remember I think it was the Bournemouth game, actually. It was North Bank, me and Wax were in the North Bank maybe. And we had some guy that was going on and on and on. I think Alexis was warming up down the sidelines with Giroud, and some people applauded him. There was some jeers. And this guy was saying, too right, he should get jeered, he should F off from the club, he should never wear the shirt again, blah, 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 this, that, the other. And Akil said to the guy, look, we're paying this guy 130, 140 grand a week to put in maximum effort. As long as he's here, he should be expected to show a level of commitment when he's on the field. I'm not Ozil's greatest fan. I think everybody knows that. I'm never shy to criticise him. But one thing I do expect is when he puts on the shirt, I expect him to give 100%, whether it's here for another 2 months till January or to the end of the season. I would never expect our two best players to rot in the reserves. I don't care who they say they're going to play, they're going to join. I don't care, what the future holds for us, whether they come back to haunt us with the new clubs. I expect, we're paying them the money. They are our best contributors. They are our superstar. They are our icon players in that team, and they contribute. When they're on the field, they contribute. I would never, ever, ever want to see them displaced. And I like Iwobi. I think he's got a lot of promise, but he's no Mesut Ozil. There are other players that you could say that could come in for Alexis. Welbeck being one. Great work rate, powerful, quick. Forwards, really keeps the defenders honest. But he's not got Alexis's quality in terms of assists and goals. And for me, if they're fit and they're available, they play. Not just because we're paying them a fortune of money, but because they're our best players and we are a better team with them in it. I don't know how you guys see it. I'll start with you, James, and then come to Woz.
Yeah, I think it's a really valid point you make there. Whilst we've got them, surely we should be utilising them. We paid them the most money in the club, and as the other day showed, we reap the rewards when they do play in the correct system. And I don't want to say, whilst they're here, we should enjoy them, because I want it to be a case of there's still a tiny smidge of belief that both of them will sign on. I hope Ozil signs on. I think, in my mind, Alexis will be gone in the summer for Pep's Manchester City, but we won't get into that debacle. Let's enjoy him whilst we've got him, as I say. They've got a lot to offer Arsenal Football Club in terms of goals and assists, as has been evidenced already this season and throughout their Arsenal careers. And whilst they are Arsenal players, they both want to play football, and they, in a way, they're going to want to impress whoever they want to join, as sad as that is to say. So they're going to be wanting to put in maximum effort, and I think they link up so well. And maybe there is a shining light at the end of the tunnel. If we can progress with this Lacazette, Alexis, Ozil trio, then some of them might turn around and say, you know what, this is actually working really well for us. Let's see where we finish in the league. If we do quite well, then let's persist with it a bit more. And maybe, next season when we bring in a few more players, I know it's incredibly wishful thinking, and it's very unrealistic of me, but maybe they'll say, I want to give it one more shot, and then just be done with it. But that's, as I say, it's unrealistic of me. I do honestly think at times we play better with Alexis out of the team, as ludicrous as that might sound to some people. I think when Welbeck plays alongside someone like Mesut Ozil, I think they can work quite well. I think, as I said before, Lacazette and Welbeck have a good understanding. I think Iwobi playing at home to someone like a Brighton or a West Brom, I think he's quite effective. And, I know, you made a great point to me on Twitter the other day that it should be someone like Mesut Ozil and a more dynamic player going forward, like Alexzil or Welbeck or Iwobi or whoever that's going to move forward with the ball. But I honestly think Wilshere and Ozil playing behind Lacazette, although it wouldn't really have the width for the piercing runs that you might want in the two behind Lacazette, I think they'd still work really well because you've got the width of Bellerin, you've got the width through Kolasinac, and then you've got the midfield runs of someone like Aaron Ramsey. So that's something I'd still like to see at some point. And I do think, in a way, we've got a plan for the future, because if we're not going to bring in, I mean, this is on the assumption that we don't bring in someone like Lamar, Fekir, Draxler, whoever next summer, in the absence of whoever we lose. We've got to look at players like Jack Wilshere, and we've got to look at players like Iwobi, Welbeck, because they will be integral parts of the team. And I think that was definitely in Arsene Wenger's thinking earlier on in the summer when we saw Daniel Welbeck start games, particularly that one away from home against Liverpool and at home as well to Leicester. So I think they're players that are going to play a big part for us in the future. But I'm in agreement with you that whilst we've got these players, we should build on what we've got in that front three and see it develop that bit more.
And the thing is, James, is them in the team playing that well. That's our best chance of getting back into the top four. That is our I mean, I understand about playing for the future, and I'm sure Jack and Iwobi and Welbeck, when he returns, will get games, you know, especially during the Christmas and the New Year period. But and I do hope that we keep them, the Alexzil, over the January period, because I think they're integral to getting us back into the top four.
Well, not just that, Giles, as well. Like they're the players that can make the difference for us when we're 0-0 with Tottenham, Man City, United, that could come up with a bit of magic.
Exactly.
I mean, they're brilliant footballers. They've got that unique edge to their game, and I think they're adaptable players as well. And I think Mesut Ozil is nowhere near as bad away from home as some people make out. I think he's scapegoated ridiculously, especially this season, because people are just looking for excuses about him. I think, yeah, they're brilliant individuals, and I want to see us blitz teams in the way we did this weekend. If we can go away from home and score 5 goals on a more regular basis, do what City are doing, then we're going to send out a message to the league. And I'm not in any delusions, any illusions, whatever you want to call it, that we're going to win the league this season. I wouldn't say satisfied with getting top 4, but it would be a step in the right direction after what happened last season. But I still think that all it takes is a couple of wins, a couple of big victories, and Liverpool did it not too long ago when they came out of absolutely nowhere to get back into the league title race. And yeah, I mean, I don't want to think about that just yet. City are just looking formidable at the minute, but let's say we go to City, get a result against Spurs as well, and then we go on a little run, have a good festive period, and come back in the new year looking in a stronger position. We could still make something of this season with that front three, and when we've got Mustafi back, I think our defence is going to look a little bit more supple, and the midfield as well, with players like Jack Wilshere available to us, it could still be a very good season. But whilst we've still got defeats like the one against Watford in our game, once we've eradicated that, then we can start talking a bit more seriously about the league title. Sorry to go off on one there, Josh.
Yeah, no worries. I'm not going to mention their names, but there are 2 particularly big accounts, and I actually debated with them this week just before the game, and they were both of the opinion that Ozil should not be anywhere near the first team. And I just thought, why? And as I was saying to James, I mean, why?
It's ludicrous. It's ludicrous. It's a ludicrous statement. Look, it's horrible, right? Because I was just sitting here all happy, and I feel like someone sat an elephant on my head, because I've got a realisation of what's actually happening at our club. And the overriding feeling for me, that the real thing that hurts me the most is 4 years. Right, 4 years down the line, and in the 4th year of having these 2 players at our football club together, Arsene Wenger has only just found a way of playing them both and achieving a goal out of it. And we haven't seen it anywhere enough yet in this formation. But we've had Alexis on the left. He's been frustrating. He's gone up centre forward. He's trying in a 4. They're coming inside. They're going narrow. Ozil's played out wide. He's come in at number 10. He's got no runners, no width. We're not getting the best out of him. All of a sudden, it worked for a little while. We got them close together with Alexis up front and Ozil close to him. But at the end of the day, you were missing it's not natural. It was working to an extent, but it weren't natural. And it was never, for me, going to be a long-lasting solution. And now we're in a situation where we're probably 6 months from seeing both of these players both world-class footballers, truly world-class footballers leave our club, and we've finally now got Alexandre Lacazette to play as the centre forward, but you've also got the link and the intelligence. You've got powerful, expressive fullbacks that are going to provide width. You've got Ozil and Sanchez both able to have freedom of creativity. And do you know, I've been a harsh critic of Alexis, and a lot of the times on the left wing he tries too much, he loses possession way too much for world-class football for me. But when you see games like at the weekend, where you see the balance of the side, you see the width of our fullbacks, you see the midfield, the quick pass from Xhaka to release it, the quick thinking, the movement of Ramsey buzzing around, Lacazette linking. You don't mind Alexis giving the ball away when you see that, because the risks and reward is far greater. And I think that he's often had the burden on his back he feels like he has to make that pass, he has to make that cross, he has to score that goal. And sometimes it's not best for the team, because he often puts himself, not because he's being selfish, because I think he feels like he wants to be that guy, and sometimes it ain't the best for us. But now we see Ozil and Sanchez in behind, it's just meant to be. And if we can continue for the rest of the season, if Arsene Wenger doesn't start being a mentalist and messing things up, and he does persist with this, for me, I want to play that team, just play that team, Kolasinac, Bellerin, Xhaka, Ramsey, Ozil, Sanchez and Lacazette, and just watch it flourish. And then you start utilising your Jack Wilsheres, your Olivier Giroud, Theo Walcott, Danny Welbeck. These players come into games when they need to, when the chips are down, when things ain't going right. That's when the impact happens. But it's taken 4 years to get to a stage where we can visibly see Alexis Sanchez and Mesut Ozil enjoying their football, playing with freedom. And I know it's only one game. I'm not getting carried away, but that's the blueprint. That's the way it should be. And mate, if we lose them, which it's looking like we are going to lose them, it just feels to me that we've wasted 4 of probably the best years that we could have had at Arsenal Football Club by just Wenger finding a way to utilise them and also make the additions like Kolasinac, like Lacazette. And if God knows, if it had been 3 years ago, we'd have switched to this and seen it. We really, in my opinion, we could have had a golden era again, because we could have added to it. But we have to reevaluate. And if we do lose them, the most important thing is that we do replace with, not like for like, 'cause I think you'd struggle for that, but like the names that James come up with, we really have to be serious, and we have to provide Lacazette with intelligent players around him, and we do have to try and continue.
And that has to come with getting the top 4. You've got a better chance of attracting a better standard of play.
Exactly. And let's be honest, we're in London, that goes in our favour. We're Arsenal Football Club, we've got a prestigious history, we're known worldwide, we are a top club, and we have got it in us. We've got the Emirates. I know all the others are getting the stadiums and all that now, but let's be honest, we are an attractive proposition if we're in the Champions League. And at the end of the day, I know most players nowadays are money orientated and that, but there is something extra about the Arsenal, and a lot of players do mention it. I know they say it when they sign for all clubs, but I genuinely do believe it that Arsenal are an attractive club. And when you see the way we play football, so many players have signed and said, I love Arsenal's ethos, I love the way they move the ball, I love the way they play football. But we haven't seen that since really proper Wenger ball on a consistent basis since we signed 2 of the best players we've ever had, which is so ironic. And it hurts me, mate, thinking about it again. And I've been riding high, like today. I haven't stopped smiling. I was at work, I was smiling. I couldn't believe it. I'm at work thinking, I'm so happy. And now this, like I said, the elephant comes down on me. But let's hope that we can. No, it's good, mate. It's good, because I do need to get back in my lane. Stop being so happy. This ain't right. Man, but it is true. I mean, I don't personally, now we've seen this, if they were to go in January and the club were just to take 20 million for him, what's the point, mate? They could have had 60, 70 million in the summer. What's the point in taking 20 million? If you're going to withdraw that 60, 70 million, why not? Just keep them at the club. And like James said, let's see where we can end up. And honestly, if we keep, for me, keeping Kolasinac and Bellerin fit is absolutely massive. They're probably 2 of the key ones, and Granit Xhaka, because if we don't have Xhaka, we don't have Cazorla, we don't have that deep line ball player, we're in a bit of trouble there. And I think then I would agree we need to throw the sort of that formation out the window and revert to the 4-3-3 and get someone else in there. But yeah, I think for this formation to work, we need to be a bit lucky with injuries, but the sky's the limit, mate, because if for one season I mean, Jack Wilshere's back in there, which is great to see, and we've got other players, and the difference in the squad depth is huge. I mean, for me, looking at El Neni and Coquelin is like a rainy weekend in Canvey Island, and then you've got Jack Wilshere back in there. It's like a 5-star all-inclusive holiday. So it's a big difference for me, and it really is a big difference. And you've got players like Walcott, who's not the most world-class footballer, but he'll come in and get you a goal when you need it. And then players like Danny Welbeck gives you a different option, and Alex Iwobi, and there's all sorts of Olivier Giroud. There's all sorts of types of players that if we do stay fit, I'm very, very confident for the rest of the season. But please, Arsene, just keep doing what you've done at the weekend, mate. None of these absolutely batshit mental team selections and all that. Just relax. Just take a breather. Watch that game again and just get them in there. Same thing again. Let the players with the creative freedom take control, and it's going to be exciting. But that's me dreaming, to be fair, mate. Let's see what happens, because we haven't been good enough for the last 4 seasons, no matter what anyone says, and we haven't made the most of these 2 players. But even, do you know what? The last 6 months, these players could still do something special for us, and even if they do leave, we've still got the opportunity to go out on a high. So fingers crossed it happens.
Indeed. James made the point about maybe going to a back 4 and having a 3 in midfield. You still think that we should persist with the 3 at the back, despite the fact that numbers seem to suggest that we are no more secure playing this season than we were playing the 4 at the back.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, go on.
No, just to counteract that, like I was saying, we've had 4 clean sheets in our last 6 league games. Now, I know we're conceding chances, but I think, like I was saying, we're still trying to get the balance right. And when you get the balance of players correct, when you've got the 3 centre-backs, the actual wing-backs in their actual positions with boots on the right feet, you've got the midfielders who are getting a partnership, an actual partnership. You see the fluidity of the team. Things just seem to click in place. People naturally get in the right areas, and I think we will concede less chances. And realistically, against Everton, we didn't give away much. Let's be honest, we didn't. We really didn't. I know at times maybe on the counter, but we got back quick. We did get back in quick, and you've got the pace and the power of Kolasinac and Bellerin to add that protection. Ramsey, we know what Ramsey's like. He's like a Duracell bunny, and he does get back. Sometimes too slow, but he does get back, and we have got the legs in the team. So the reason I'm not opposed to a 4, but I know what Arsene Wenger will do. He'll go narrow, and there'll be a reliance on the fullbacks again. Then we've got 2 centre-backs. Then the CMs start playing like they're in trouble, and we're all high, and I just can see it all crumbling down again. But I like in theory, the team that James said is absolutely fantastic. I mean, everyone wants to see Ramsey, Wilshere and Xhaka together. It'd be beautiful. I just think it'd be interesting to see how we done it with the fullbacks and how the team. But it's definitely another option, and like we know in modern football you can't marry yourself. But I just see this formation growing, and I see when we've got the centre backs back in there, and what it's done for Monreal, and like I said, we've got Mustafi and Chambers and Holding, and there's depth there. It's just I worry about the depth at the wing back situation, and it was good to see Debussy back in because he looked like he hadn't missed a game in years, to be fair to him. And but yeah, I just think I would persist with it, and I would. If I'm going to persist with it, like I said, you've got to keep that nucleus. I think that 4, that Kolasinac, Xhaka, Ramsey, Bellerin. Then in front of it, you've got the options with Giroud, Welbeck, and like we talked about all these other players. But I just think that 4 are quite key. I mean, you could easily swap Jack Wilshere for Aaron Ramsey on occasion. There's absolutely no issues with that. But I really, really want to see a consistency. That's what I think we've lacked.
Do you think, sorry to cut in, do you think if Gay had stayed on, we'd still have scored 5? I mean, I know at the beginning of the game we were all over them, but do you think we were on course to score 5 even if they hadn't got a man sent off?
Yes. And I'll tell you why, because Everton could not sustain, and they could not deal with the speed of movement, the speed that we were moving the ball. It's just not sustainable. And at the end of the day, that's why Gay got sent off, because they knew that early pass in, if they didn't stop it at source, we're gone. Yeah. Because they knew, and that's what. And also, like I was saying earlier about no spray, no lay, where they get high and wide, it means that it makes the defence think twice about it. Everton have then got to think. They've got to think, bloody hell, hang on a minute. If we don't stop this ball tight, they've gone. They've got the width. They've got the. Do you know what I mean? Whereas in previous games and that, we haven't got that width. Xhaka, when he gets the ball, he's thinking about it, and that's when it's dangerous for us because we're not quick through, we're not the transition slow through the lines. But Ozil, he's the god. He picks up them little areas. Xhaka plays that first time ball. They know that we've got the option of going high and wide and long. They know that we can go short and intricate. So Idrissa Gueye is forced to make them challenges, and he done it. And we got caught once where we was a bit slow, and like I said, it might have been a foul, might not, but he tried it again and he tried it again, and in the end, he was punished for it. And I personally do think that if it weren't Gueye, it would have been Williams or it would have been someone else getting that second yellow card. Because I said very early on in the game, I couldn't see him sustaining that. And when Arsenal play like that, mate, no one can deal with us. It's very, very, very difficult. So even the top sides will find it difficult because we've seen people like City squeeze the life out of teams and they just can't handle it. And when Arsenal play like that, we're very similar. We are very similar because we're fast, exciting. And if Gueye had stayed on the pitch, and like I said, I think it would have been someone else, but I do think they would have tied. I really do think Everton would have tied anyway. And once we got that second goal, it was never in doubt because we had the strength of, we had the cojones to come back in and really after going behind, mate. That's what going away to Everton is a difficult game for both sides. We're in a sticky patch. It could have gone one or two ways, and we stood up and said, "Look, we're the Arsenal. We've got world-class footballers. This is how we play football. We're on our game. Deal with us." Couldn't deal with you. Night. 5 goals. I mean, the 2 goals we conceded were unfortunate. It could have been 5-0, and realistically,
could have been 8 or 9.
Could have been 8 or 9, mate. And that's what, like you said earlier, the chance creation was so high in the game, and it was just great to see, wasn't it?
21 really shots inside the area. 21 shots inside the area.
Well, mate, the amazing thing, you looked at it. I mean, we had the most chances created away from home by any team all season by half time. Mesut Ozil had created 6 chances alone by half time. The most in the game this season was 7. Do you know what I mean? And that was when we weren't even really turning the screw. I mean, we were playing well, and then once they tied, it was always going to be the case because when you look at people like Aaron Ramsey, the fitness levels are so supreme. Alexis Sanchez, he's still going so late in the game. Mesut Ozil, he conserves his energy throughout the game. So in them last 10, 15 minutes, he's making that run on the right wing. He is the one who has got the energy to do that. And you see everyone's still fit, they're still firing, they're still intelligent, they're still mentally ready, and that's when we take advantage. And going down to 10 men, it does massively help. I still think it would have been very, very similar, and I still think we would have squeezed the life out of them, mate.
I'll tell you what's a funny stat. I'm sorry, James, just before we come back to you. Only 11% of our chances were long passes. I take it that's like over 15 meters. So that means a lot of our passes, it was like 616 passes we made in that game. A lot of them were quick, short, maybe 5 to 10 meter passes, but they were quick. They were incisive. They were penetrative. We were playing small triangles. We were playing triangles around each other, and that's the way, that's the sort of blueprint you want to play with, ball possession. If you're going to dominate the ball, short, crisp triangles, movement, intelligence, knowing where your man is, positional play, all comes into it. It's all a big factor in it. And I hope we see it again against Norwich. Let the dirt trackers do it against Norwich, and then obviously again against Swansea on Saturday. James, over to you. Games this week. What are you expecting to see? I take it you expect to see pretty much the lineup that we saw last week at Belgrade.
If anything, I expect it to be even weaker than that. Remarkably, I think we might see Marcus McGuane in there. I have no idea if I'm saying his name right, but I quite like to see him. Yeah. McGuane, that's the one. Maybe Ben Sheaf as well. Let's go crazy. Josh Da Silva, Eddie Nketiah. I mean, all these options we've got, and I'm all for that, to be honest. I think we've got a top squad for the Premier League, a sub squad for the Europa League, and then for the Cabarara Cup, we've got so many options in terms of youth. And I'd like to see Josh Da Silva get another game at centre half. I know that on the Arsenal website he's listed as a forward, but in that game,
you got to explain that to me.
Yeah, I mean, I can't explain it, mate. Honestly, I have no idea what's going on there. Arsenal admin guys had an absolute mare. But against Doncaster, he played well for the time he was on the pitch at centre half, and I'd much rather see someone that's, it sounds a bit mental saying is naturally a centre half, but he has been playing there with the under-23s this season. So to see him play as a centre half instead of someone like El Neni, who I don't particularly want to see as the middle man in a back three more often than not. I'd rather see someone like Josh Da Silva, give him that chance, have Rob Holding coming off of him, and I think we've got a lot of options there. It's a shame that James isn't back for this game. I think that he's still got a big part to play this season when he can get back to full fitness. But I want to see a young team. I want to see a side that's going to excite me a little bit. Reece Nelson once again. It's a shame that he's going to have to play at wing back. But yeah, I mean, it'd be good to see Debussy again, see if he can build on his performance, and maybe even make a case for himself getting back into the first team at some point, which is unlikely. But if he wants to be a regular starter in the Europa League and maybe the FA Cup when that comes around, it's a good competition for him to stake a claim. I wouldn't actually mind seeing Chuba Akpom get a start, as crazy as that sounds, with Olivier Giroud starting that game against Belgrade and not overly impressing apart from scoring that brilliant goal. I think a lot of people forget about Chuba Akpom, and you could argue rightly so, because he hasn't done a lot in his that even at 22 years old, we've still got him as a player on our books. Why the hell not? Just give him a go in this competition, see what he can offer. If you're not going to start him, at least play him for 20, 30 minutes. And then we've got players like Nketiah that can come off the bench as well. But as I say, I want to see a young team that's going to make a bit of a difference and buy into this formation as well. So yeah, I'm excited with how many younger players Arsene Wenger's putting through this season. And I think that's one positive that shouldn't be overlooked.
James says he'd like to see a pretty young team out on Tuesday. Norwich have got a big game against Derby County on Saturday, so I imagine they'll be playing a youngish or a scratch side. How do you get the balance right of giving our youngsters game time and then keeping our fringe players like Walcott, like Coquelin, like Giroud, like all those guys nicely bubbling, simmering, and they're ready.
It's like I say, I love the sentiment of Cookie's explanation there, but me personally, I'm more erring towards the side that you're explaining there, G, as in, I think we need to keep these guys ticking over. I think one game every 2.5 weeks, 2 weeks in the Europa League isn't enough for people like obviously when people are fit, I mean, and also with Reece Nelson, I want him to play, but I'd play Debussy at right wing back and put Nelson and Walcott up behind Giroud.
Yep.
And I'd put Jackie Wilshere centre mid, probably with El Neni, if El Neni isn't playing centre back. But I always think that with regards to these younger players, I think they get a lot more and they would progress a lot more with putting 1 or 2 in a senior side rather than having 7 or 8 and 1 or 2 senior players, because even against Doncaster, it's a bit of a mishmash. We didn't play well, and it was a strange performance. And I just think it's all about, like you said, buying into this way of playing in that formation. And it's not just utilising that formation; it's the way we play within it. It's the fullbacks retaining width. It's the centre midfield, the runner from deep, like Jack Wilshere. He could replicate Aaron Ramsey's influence on the game. You've got Reece Nelson and Theo Walcott trying to do what Sanchez and Ozil were doing. And you've got Olivier Giroud dropping in deep with the runners. I want to see almost a replication of the first team. It sounds strange, but at a lesser level. And I know it's a championship team at home, but I want to take it relatively serious. I want to win the League Cup. But for the first time in a long time, you look through our squad and you look at who we've got fit. There's absolutely no reason for me not to play these players. I mean, well, I really want to see young talent coming through, and we all do. But I think if you're adding someone like Nelson in his natural position up there, up the top end of the park, alongside Theo, in behind Giroud, I mean, he could really benefit from that in the long run, rather than seeing him stuck out at right wing back. The only one I do feel a bit sorry for is Ainsley Maitland-Niles, because I think yet again he will have to play left wing back when really I do want to see him in the centre of the park. I'd love to see him in there. And if El Neni doesn't play, I'd like to see Maitland-Niles and Wilshere maybe a bit similar in there, them two with the progressive styles and the box-to-box sort of running. But I'd like to see him given a chance in there. But he does a very decent job, and to be fair to Maitland-Niles, he does retain width out there when he has played left wing back. So we'll probably see him get more minutes there. But yeah, I think again we should try and replicate what we're implementing in the first team, in these games as well. Even the Europa League games, we should try and go out there with a similar style. And I've got big hopes for a lot of them players that James mentioned. But for me personally, I'd have them on the bench and bring them into a scenario rather than start them and then maybe rely on other players to come in and sort of bail us out. Because at the end of the day, Norwich are no mugs. I know you're saying they've got a big game and that, but they won't want to come and get embarrassed, even if it's not their first team. They'll fancy their chances against the young Arsenal side. And I just think I want to see us, now we've actually got the squad, I want to utilise it because we've become so accustomed to sort of almost throwing this competition away, using it as a birthplace for certain players. But realistically, in the last few years, not many have succeeded from the way we've dealt with the League Cup. So I'd like to see a strong backup side with a couple of youngsters thrown in, and like Maitland-Niles, like Reece Nelson, and maybe a Josh Silva at centre back if El Nenny's going to play CM. But yeah, I want to go strong.
Cool. All right. Let's see what they come up with. Special mention has to go out to Olivier Giroud. He won the FIFA Puskás Award for his scorpion kick on New Year's Day against Crystal Palace. I do think, as I tweeted earlier, that I do think Mathieu Flamini should have got Best Supporting Act for his dab in the goal as well. Very unfortunate. I think the awards panelists should have a word with themselves about that. Right, so it's Norwich on Tuesday, and we've got Swansea at home on the weekend. Predictions, please, for the Swansea game.
Swansea game, hopefully we see the same team, and I think we will get an early goal, and I don't think we'll struggle to break them down if we play anywhere near the way we played against Everton. I just want to see a consistency and another similar performance. And if we do, we could win 9-0.
Okay.
No, I'd like to keep the clean sheet, mate. And at the end of the day, we'll take any result. And we've had the 3-0, 2-0 at home, and they're a bit dull, but we could be in for a lot of excitement. And I think Swansea really would be there for the taking if we could get an early goal. So yeah, fingers crossed.
We've got a good record at home compared to our away records. We've been quite good at home.
Well, yeah, we've been the best. We've been the best, haven't we? We've been the best. So you look at it throughout the league, we've been the best at home over everyone.
So you're predicting? Sorry, once again, your prediction is?
I can't really go with 9-0, can I? Bloody hell! I mean, you need to put me in somewhere.
We got to remember we got this bookie thing. We got to,
we got to actually put a bet on it.
Yeah, and all that.
Well, one good thing, we could be quite rich if it does happen, but no, I'd go for, I want a clean sheet. I'd go for a 3-0.
And you, James?
I'm looking forward to this game, to be honest. I know that we notoriously don't do particularly well against Swansea, but we're coming up against a poor team under Paul Clement at the minute. Been struggling for results, similarly to how Everton were, and I think we've got a great chance at home, playing on the Emirates carpet, to really build on what we did against Everton. And as I say, keeping a clean sheet, I'm in agreement with Wasdale. I think that's imperative. Just building up a good defensive record is going to do that backline the world of good. But I want to see goals as well, and I'm going to go for 4-0 to Arsenal.
Good stuff. All right. So, to all listeners, do make sure you download Bookie. That's BOOKEE. If you download the app and use the promo code Ramble, deposit the £10 bet and get a £10 bet for free. The link is in our Twitter feed as well. So that's Bookie, BOOKEE. Bet, Betty, Bam, Balam, bet responsibly. And if
please gamble responsibly.
That's it, yeah.
Yeah, please gamble responsibly. Don't put your money on 9-0. Yeah.
Indeed, quite indeed. All right, so I know it's been a long one this evening, particularly long, but we've had to spray and lay. We really had to go, an extended spray and lay this evening. We've done a blow by blow account of all the goals. I hope you enjoy it. I want to thank my two panelists tonight. James, first appearance of the season. Thanks for coming on, mate.
No, thanks for having me on, mate. Absolutely brilliant. Loved every minute. Hope to do a few more this season.
Absolutely will. And also, my man was. Thanks for coming on, mate.
Top man, G. So good to actually enjoy. Not that I don't normally enjoy it, but I've actually really genuinely enjoyed this one. It's been brilliant. Loved it. It's lovely. We can smile again.
Yeah,
apart from crushing my drinks. Argue and Alexzil.
Indeed. All right, I've been your host, Giles. Catch us again, all the platforms, YouTube, SoundCloud, all the Android apps, obviously, and YouTube and iTunes. I've been your host, Giles. It's been a good Ramble podcast. Up your Arsenal.
This episode of the Gooner Ramble podcast is sponsored by the new app called Bookie. That's BOOKEE. Sign up by using the promo code Ramble, deposit and bet £10 and get a free £10 bet. That's Bookie, BOOKEE.